Hi, in today's video we're going to cover supplier compliance, profile maintenance and guidance. So we'll be looking at your profile within Jagger, which covers more areas than just compliance, and we'll just be giving a bit of guidance on things that you can do to your profile. So we're going to go to Jagger homepage. You'll be able to get this link via a desktop guide or from the compliance team. You'll notice the link on this one here has prep in it. This is because we are looking at a training system. If you have an account to Jagger, we'll log in here and that's what we're going to do. But if you don't have an account for Jagger and you want to register, you can click here to get more details on it, or you can click here to register. Once you click here to register, you'll be presented with a list of mandatory fields that you need to populate, and once you've populated them, these will include address, company name, and then once you've completed that, you'll be able to then submit and get a login to Jagger. You'll receive the login details, your temporary password via email, and then you'll be able to log into the system. But today we're going to go in as a user already. We've already set up our account. So I'm going to log in here and it takes me to the Jagger homepage or landing page as we like to call it. You'll see on the left hand side these are your normal options that you see: projects, PQQs, ITTs and so forth. But what we are actually going to focus on is your profile, the detail that you've actually got logged against your organisation. So on the right hand side we have a manage your profile link, and we're going to click on this. This takes you to the registration data for your supplier. You'll notice in the top right hand corner we have a pencil. So if we click on this, we can update any of the details here that we need to do just by either, if it's a drop down, clicking the drop down, or typing in the free text box. Excuse me. So this bit here is just a pencil, opens up edit mode, and then it allows you to change whatever you need to change. Then once you've done your changes, make sure you click save. I haven't updated anything, so I'm just going to click cancel. And then what you'll notice as well is there's a main user details. If we click on this, this is it. The main user is the administrator for your account. So whoever registered the supplier on Jagger will be the main user. The person can change that to someone else. As you'll see in the top right hand corner, we have change main user, so they can change it to whoever is going to be the new main user. If this person is no longer with the organisation, then you would need to go to Jagger's help desk, and I'll point out the number for that before the end of the call, or sorry, the end of this video. The administrator has the full access, and they provide access to other people who need to log in. So that is why they are the only person to be allowed to change this. If you need Jagger to change it, they will send an email to whoever was the previous main user, just to let them know it's getting changed, just for security reasons. But that's what you would need to do. So that's the first part of your profile, your registration data. And then the next part we're going to look at is the profile data. So if we click on this, you'll see there's a list of forms here. These forms might not be exactly what's replicated on the live system, but these have profile questions in them that, if they need to be populated in another screen later on, the answers will flow with it. So for that, we're going to focus on the compliance one, and this is exactly the same as you would see on the live system. So if you click onto the compliance form, you'll see it's already got a green tick next to it saying that that basically means we have completed all the mandatory fields that are within that form. So we're going to click onto it, and you'll see it takes us into this screen, and you won't see the top fields here that I'm looking at. because they're buyer fields, or if you do see them, you won't be able to make any changes to them. They'll only be the buyer, which will be the FCDO, who can make changes to this top part. As we scroll down further, we then come to the questions that the supplier will be able to change, and you'll always be able to tell because it will say editable by the supplier. So as you go through the year with your compliance documentation, you may have it ready earlier than the time that the FCDO requests it, or you have new answers you need to populate. You can do this during the year. So you can come into here, you would click the pencil at the top of the screen. It'll take you back into edit mode, and you'll notice now that you can either delete an attachment, or if you click on it looks like a refresh button or refresh icon, it will allow you to open a new window and change the file that's currently there, and then you can edit the expiry date. You can go in and change other answers that are there. So this will allow you to, because I know that during the year that you will be building your compliance piece for your annual declaration, you can come in here and populate what you have ready at that time, and then just click save. You don't need to complete all mandatory fields to do that. As long as you click save after you've done what you've needed to do, this will be stored so that when you come to the point of the FCDO requesting, which you will get the email which we've spoke about in previous videos asking you to complete forms, when you go and access those forms, you will see these answers already sitting. So I've already started to work for you. So once you're happy, you would click save. Again, I haven't made any changes. I'm just going to click cancel. And that covers the profile pages for this video anyway. There is more to the other forms that are here, but we are focusing purely on the compliance. You have responses, which if you click on this one, it tells you any responses you've given previously. And then you have history of changes. So any changes you make to your account, you will be able to see an audit trail of that here. So that is all I would cover for this part. So this has allowed you to see you can update your registration data, and you can update your main user as long as that is the main user doing it. And then you can come in here and you can update your responses for your annual declaration throughout the year so it's ready when it comes to the point of submission. So the next part we're going to focus on now is the user details. So for the main user, administrator, when they have anyone else who needs to be logging into this account, they would need to add them. And by doing that, this would then send out an email with the details for them. So to do this, you'll see on the left-hand side here, we have the user management, which is just an icon of a person. So if you click on that, you'll see manage users and then users. We have on this account already 2 users. So you'll see that the main one is the John Thompson account. You don't need to, well, you can't click into that because they're classed as a super user. So that registration page we were on, or the administrator, sorry, that is where the editing gets done for that person. They have full access to this account. They don't need to have any options selected for any additional access. They will always have the full access because they are classed as the administrator. You'll see the user above. We can click on their surname. So by clicking on the surname, it takes us to here, and you'll see that there's the fields that have been populated. You can edit some of these and some that you can't, like username. Once a username set, that's it. But you can update email addresses and names if things change. And what we also have in here is the user rights. So this is probably the most important part of this. So the way we are looking at it now, we would be giving users rights individually. So we would go into each user and do that, but we have another way of doing it, which is through roles, and then you can set a role for a person, which I'll touch on just after this. So you'll be able to go through here and you'll see in the quick navigation what each rights are linked to. So for example, like contract management, and then you have supplier management, and then supplier performance and things like that. So When it comes to the compliance part of this, I would be ensuring that contract management, supplier management, and supplier performance have yes for the for all of the access, just to ensure the person can see what they need to see and respond. If the access isn't correct, then obviously a trial and error of going through what's set as yeses and nos until you get it correctly. But for compliance, I would make sure contract management, supplier management, and supplier performance are all yeses. And you can edit these by clicking the pencil at each section, which will allow you to change that section, or you can click the pencil at the top, which will let you change the rights for the whole account at that one time, rather than doing it section by section. So if I was going to change the supplier performance, for example, I can click on the pencil here, and then you'll see there's a drop down, and then it'll say yes, only the list, or yes, the list and full details. So for this kind of thing, I would try and give them as much access as possible. So I'm going to say yes, list and full details, and then click save. That is now saved, that change. So back on the user details side of things, this is where we're talking about updating names, email addresses and such like. But what you also have here is a role. So we can set up roles and we use it in the FCDO, but it's totally up to the supplier if they want to do it. If you have a team of, I don't know how many people, 5 or 6 people doing the same job, rather than having to come in and do this with each individual user, you would do it against a role and then pick that role for this person. So to do that with the role, if we go back to the screen we were in before, you'll notice that there's roles here at the top. So if we click on roles, you'll see that this is empty, but you can create a role just by clicking the create button in the top right hand corner, and that will let you go in and name the role and then give all the access. So just like I was saying, you can give an access, you could do the access just like we were doing individually there previously. And then when it came to creating new users, you would just give them this role rather than going through and giving yes, no, yes, no. So this would do the whole thing if you wanted to do that. I'm going to click cancel on that just now because I'm not saving anything. And then what we've also got is divisions. And divisions are there if you want to control visibility. So say you have 2 completely different departments within your organisation that you don't want them seeing the same things, you can then create a division, just like we were doing with the role. We've got a division that's set up automatically, which will just be called division. But if you were to create a new one, you would click create, you would give it a name, you would give it a manager. So the person who was going to be the manager of this division would need to have been registered on Jagger so that you can select them. I'm just going to cancel out, and then what you would have seen after that is how this one looks. So in here you would then see the users that are linked to that division, and you can also again set the division from the user details screen, and then you can also see visibility. And what this visibility is you can control what division sees what division. So it's just like a yes, no, can they see it or can they not see it? So again, that controls the access. If it's a larger organisation, you need to stop different departments seeing different things. So that covers the user side of it, users, roles and divisions. And just so we can touch on what we were talking about before, at the FCTO we can't support on this side as this is not visible to us. I have set up a dummy supplier so that I can show this. So if you have any issues with this and you can't correct it yourself, you would need to contact Jagger directly. And to contact Jagger directly, you would be going, well, you'll see it here when I click on the home button, that they have a need assistance option down here in the bottom right hand corner. So you can phone this number, or you can click on call me back, and by doing that you can put in your name and your phone number and they will give you a call back when they're free. So that has covered most of the maintenance and support. And what we can also show is the accessing previous scorecards, so you can see what was scored when you were doing a survey prior from the FCDO, like we were talking about your annual declaration. Once that's all been done and it's completed, if you wanted to go back and look at what the scoring was, you can do that. So just for this, I'm going to click on projects. I'm not actually going to projects, it's just clicking any option there to move on to the next screen. And then you'll see on the left hand side we have the icon of the person with the tick next to it. And you'll notice we have a few options here. So you've obviously got the profile that we were talking about that we first went into, and this just breaks it down into the tabs. And then what we have is assessments. So these assessments are when you get your annual declaration, or if you're doing your first one, these would come via this assessments, and you'd be able to go in and do the forms like has been shown in a previous video. And then what we have here after that is scorecards, and you can see there's different options for that. So it's like in progress ones, and then we've got the qualification and the contract. So if I was to click on qualification, you'll see it takes me to this screen, and we have a scorecard, and you can view it by clicking on the organisation name to see who, or to see the scoring of that card. You can see it from here anyway. The score was 100, the target score was 100. But if I click on that, you get more granular detail. So it takes you to the initial details screen of the scorecard. And then if we click on the forms, you can click on the scorecard form, and you'll see the scoring. And then you can also see the responses that were given and what was scored against those responses. So if, for example, this wasn't at 100, you'd be able to scroll down here and see what had marked it down. And you can see each section has to be at 100 as well. So this would be a way of checking it. And what you can also see is a tab for showing the trends. So it's just called show trend, but you'll see it gives an average score. So if there's been a whole varied scorecards where there's been different scoring, where we were getting to this 100%, you would be able to see the average score, and you'd be able to see the trends between the scorecards as well down here, as there's graphs and other parts that give you a bit more detail. So that's how you would see the scorecard. And then if you wanted to download from your scorecard, so say you wanted to get your attachments and your responses, you can click print summary in the top right hand corner. So if we click on this print summary, you can then download a PDF, or you can click print. So if you download the PDF, it's obviously going to save onto your device, but that won't download the files. So what would happen is if you downloaded this, any files that are in here that have a link, it would take the person back to Jagger to download them. So if you're going to download them, you'd be better doing that yourself first, like clicking in on the scorecard, which I'll show you in a second, downloading those, and then downloading this, and they'd be able to go together. Unfortunately, there's not currently any functionality to allow you to mass download these documents while also doing this. So this is the way it has to be done. So you'd have to do this, and then on your form, in your scorecard form, you would need to click on the response, as you'll see below. If you click on this, it downloads it. So that is a way of getting your compliance record. So you'd be able to show with the PDF that you've got that you were at 100%, and then you would use these attachments as backup. Your responses, which are given in text, are completely fine as they'll be in the PDF, but it's only the attachments that are going to be an issue, so you would need to download these separately. One other part to touch on in the scorecards is messaging. So you'll see up here there's messages, and you can create messages. You'll have received messages, and then you'll see sent messages, ones that you've sent. So in here you can send messages Just the setup is just like an email. You would click create message. It has a subject. You can put text on it. You can make an attachment and send it. And then again, that'll be stored in sent messages. When you receive anything, you'll be able to come in here and see it. You'll get an alert from the system telling you have a message to come in, have a look. And that's how you know you'll have a message. But one thing to touch on with the scorecard messaging is only use this when the scorecard is active. So when the scoring's going on, when there's discussions happening back and forth, as that is the only time that the compliance team will be looking at this. So it'll be active to them. They'll be doing the scoring, so messages will be able to go back and forth. But if this has been shut for a period of time and then you've decided you need to send a message, if you send it via here, it's very unlikely to get picked up. So this is a good tool to use while we are actively scoring, to have communication. But if we're outside of that, please use the emails or however you would normally contact outside of Jagger. So that covers the scorecards, and I'm just going to come back out of here and you'll see that was me in the qualification one. And we've also got contract scorecards as well. So it's exact same as what we were just in. If we click on the title again, it takes us to the same setup, and then we'll see the scorecard form, tells you the scoring. It also has a survey form because the response is through the actual scorecard. When you do the qualification assessments, the forms are separate from the scorecard, but when it comes to contract, the form for the questions is actually part of the scorecard for when you do your response. You scroll down here again, you see your responses you can download by clicking on the attachment and it'll download it. You have the same print summary in the top right hand corner. The survey form, just as I said, it looks just exactly as something you would need to complete, because this is how it works when you're actually going through the process. The show trend is exactly the same as the one on the previous qualification scorecard we looked at. And then the messaging, again, exactly the same. So that covers all options for scorecards. And with that, we have covered everything that we were going to do. So in this video, you've been able to see that you can register for Jagger, how you would log on, how you can update your registration details, change your main user. You can also, how you would register new users, give user access, how you can use a role to spread access over numerous users without having to do it individually. Any issues you have with that, if you go to the homepage and contact Jagger directly, as unfortunately at the FCTO we can't help. And then we've looked at the scorecard. So once everything's been done and you need to go back and look at anything, or as we were saying, print a summary so that you can prove your compliance offline outside of the system, this is how you would do it. So thank you very much for watching, and that's the end of this video.